welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are covering live Netanyahu's speech and the protests that are happening at the Capitol at the same time. Please make sure you like, follow, subscribe for more videos like this, and let's get into it. Okay, so this is our cam with Netanyahu. Mike Johnson is currently making the intros, and then we have two cams on the protests as well. I'm hearing from people both inside and outside the Capitol that it's turning into an absolute shit show, and it seems like people are already getting pepper sprayed. As you can see, the cops are wearing their gas masks, so I think tensions are going to be really high. I think this is not going to go well, and the lengths that they've gone through to protect a war criminal that's about to get an ICC arrest warrant is insane. And not only that, but they've spent at least millions of dollars trying to protect this man, but they censure the only Palestinian lawmaker, federal lawmaker. And if that doesn't tell you anything about our politics, I don't know what will. It's so fucking sad. We are willing to spend so much on protecting these war criminals, and yet we censure the only Palestinian lawmaker. Like, think about that. That's insane. We have our non-Zionist Jews standing in solidarity, period. I love to see it. This makes me happy. It gives me a little bit of hope, I swear. And also, I feel like it's so powerful when non-Zionist Jews stand in solidarity with Palestinian people, because it's just really powerful, you know? I love it. I love to see it. It's starting. Okay, let's go. Why are they all giving him a standing ovation? Stop. There's no fucking way. There's no way.
I want to thank you for giving me the profound honor of addressing this great citadel of democracy for the fourth time. Our world is in upheaval. In the Middle East, Iran's axis of terror confronts America, Israel, and our Arab friends.
Bro started off with Iran. Bro started off with Iran as if he didn't just kill about 200,000 Palestinians. Like, go fuck yourself. You're not even allowing Palestinians to eat food, and you're like, Iran's danger. Shut the fuck up.
The clash between those who glorify death and those who sanctify life. For the forces of civilization to triumph, America and Israel must stand together.
Wow, look at the standing ovation. It is literally like the Zionist Coachella for geriatric old politicians right now. This is so fucking ridiculous. Almost every single person in this crowd deserves to be in a retirement home. Fuck all of you guys.
October 7th is a day that will forever live in infamy. Thousands of young Israelis were celebrating at an outdoor music festival, and suddenly, at 6:29 a.m., heaven turned into hell. 3,000 Hamas terrorists stormed into Israel.
Hamas terrorists.
They butchered 1,200 people from 41 countries, including 39 Americans. Proportionately, compared to our population size, that's like 20 9/11s in one day. And these monsters, they raped women, they beheaded men, they burnt babies.
The beheaded story and burnt baby story was debunked. It was debunked. Why is he lying?
They dragged 255 people, both living and dead, into the dark dungeons of Gaza. Israel has already brought home 135 of these hostages, including 7 who were freed in daring rescue operations.
Is he gonna talk about the massacre that he created by saving some of those hostages, or no? Because the hostage saving has been a fucking failure. There's still hostages in Gaza, you fucking moron. See, it's the double standard for me. It's the fucking double standard for me. He's not gonna say one word about all the civilians he killed, but all of these stooges that are paid to be there, by the way, because none of them are doing it for free, are standing in ovation. Do you think America would host Putin like that? I just have a question. Would y'all do this? Like, why? What is this double standard? Because if y'all want to tell me that Putin's a war criminal, which, okay, I agree with, but you're catering to this psychopath, you kind of lose all of your fucking credits. Like, I won't listen to anything you say because your double standards are wild.
With her mother and Eliyahu's son, the entire family was taken hostage. 2 beautiful red-haired children taken hostage. What monster.
2 beautiful red hairs. Why the fuck is he saying what color their hair was?
Bravely escaped Hamas captivity with 2 other Israelis, and tragically they were killed, making their way back to our lines. We have with us also the families of American hostages.
This is the shit that makes me not want to vote for any presidential candidate come November. This is the fucking shit. This shit makes me bitter. This shit makes me angry. Do you want to know how? I just want to know how much American taxpayer money they spent on all the barricades and all of the cops and all the security they got outside right now because they don't want a protester to touch this man. They don't even want him to get a scratch. It's wild.
Actively engaged in intensive efforts to secure their release, and I'm confident that these efforts can succeed. Some of them are taking place right now. I want to thank President Biden for his tireless efforts on behalf of the hostages and for his efforts to the hostage families as well.
Oh, Biden, honey, this is not a good look. This is not a good look for Kamala either. Y'all shouldn't have gotten that shout out.
I thank President Biden for his heartfelt support for Israel. After the savage attack on October 7th, he rightly called Hamas sheer evil. He dispatched 2 aircraft carriers to the Middle East to deter a wider war. And he came to Israel to stand with us during our darkest hour, a visit that will never be forgotten. President Biden and I have known each other for over 40 years. I want to thank him for half a century of friendship to Israel and for being, as he says, proud Irish American Zionists. My friends, for more than 9 months, Israel's soldiers have shown boundless courage. With us today is Lieutenant Avichai Reuven.
Bro, just, you know what? Why do you guys keep sitting? Oh, of course you had to bring the one black IDF soldier. You guys treat Ethiopians like shit. You guys treat Ethiopians like dog shit. Y'all literally sterilized Ethiopians for multiple years without them even knowing. Y'all tried to bar Ethiopians from coming to your country because you're on some weird white supremacist shit. And now you're over here. This man doesn't even look like he wants to be here. He doesn't, look at his face. He doesn't even look like he wants to be here. You're over here doing this whole fucking Ethiopians this, Ethiopians that. You treat Ethiopians like fucking dog shit. Are you gonna talk about that? Are you gonna talk about that? Are you gonna talk about the absurd amount of racism that people of color go through in Israel? No, you're not. No, you're not, because this whole entire speech is a bunch of fucking misinformation and lies. That's it. That's it. That's all it is.
Right next to Avichai, this is Master Sergeant Ashraf al-Bakhiri.
Of course. What's his story? Let's hear it. Come on.
Ashraf is a veteran soldier from the Israeli Muslim community of Rad.
There's no fucking way!
The Muslim soldiers of the IDF fought alongside their Jewish, Druze, Christian, and other comrades in arms with tremendous bravery. Lieutenant Asa Sofer is also here with us.
Okay, tell me about Lieutenant Assulfer. Let's go. What's his fucking story? He looks like he's forced to be there too. None of these motherfuckers look happy to be there.
Asa fought as an officer in the Tank Corps, and he was wounded in battle. He
looks fine.
While protecting his fellow soldiers from a grenade. He lost his right arm.
Oh, never mind.
And the vision in his left eye. Within a short time, Asa will soon return to active duty as a commander of a tank company.
So, okay, are we going to talk about all the people that literally lost their limbs in this war in Palestine? Gaza has the highest number of children who had to get amputated without anesthesia. And now you're bringing this one IDF soldier.
I just learned there is a fourth hero here, Lieutenant Jonathan Ben
What?
Who lost a leg in Gaza and continued to fight.
So are we not going to talk about all the amputees in Gaza, or are we just going to ignore that? Are we just going to ignore that they're the only ones who have the highest rate of amputees, or?
All are imbued with the indomitable spirit of the Maccabees, the legendary Jewish warriors of antiquity. With us today is Yechiel Leiter, the father of one of those Maccabees. Yechiel's father escaped the Holocaust and found refuge in America. As a young man, Yechiel moved to Israel and raised a family of 8 children. He named his eldest son Moshe after his late father. Moshe became an exemplary officer in one of our elite commando units. He served with distinction for 2 decades while raising 6 beautiful children of his own. On October 7th, Moshe volunteered to return to combat. 4 weeks later, he was killed when a booby-trapped mine exploded in a tunnel shaft right next to a mosque. At his son's funeral, Yechiel said this: "If the state of Israel had not been established after the Holocaust, the image engraved in our collective memory would have been the photograph of that helpless Jewish boy in the Warsaw Ghetto holding his hands up in the air with Nazi rifles pointed at him. But because of the birth of Israel, Yechiel continued, because of the courage of soldiers like my son Moshe, the Jewish people are no longer helpless in the face of our enemies.
This man will gaslight us until the end of days. You can gaslight us all you want about how you guys have a right to do everything because of the Holocaust, but it doesn't change the fact that you're literally mass murdering people to take over land. You're mass murdering innocent civilians. There's no fucking backstory that can convince me that that's okay, and that's just point blank, period.
My friends, defeating our brutal enemies requires both courage and clarity. Clarity begins by knowing the difference between good and evil. Yet incredibly, many anti-Israel protesters, many choose to stand with evil. They stand with Hamas. They stand with rapists and murderers. They stand with people who came into the kibbutzim, into a home. The parents hid the children, the two babies in the attic, in a secret attic. They murdered the families, the parents. They find the secret latch to the hidden attic, and then they murder the babies. These protesters stand with them. They should be ashamed of themselves.
You know what? You can call us whatever you want. I don't give a fuck. See, this is the type shit that gets Muslims and Middle Eastern people murdered in America. Because people look at us, people that look like me, people who believe in the same God that I do, with fucking kufiyas, and they think that we stand with Hamas and murderers. They're literally peddling hate. They're peddling hate that always results to hate crimes. As if an 8-year-old, whatever it was, a 6 or 8-year-old Palestinian boy getting stabbed to death by his landlord, as if a Palestinian child at the pool getting fucking drowned isn't enough for them. It's not enough.
Security Director, U.S. Director of National Intelligence, that Iran is funding and promoting anti-Israel protests in America. They want to disrupt America. So these protesters burn American flags even on the 4th of July. For all we know, Iran is funding the anti-Israel protests that are going on right now outside this building. Not that many, but they're there. And throughout the city.
Are you serious?
Well, I have a message for these protesters.
What? What, bitch?
The tyrants of Tehran, who hang gays from cranes and murder women for not covering their hair, are praising, promoting, and funding you. You have officially become Iran's useful idiots.
As an Iranian myself, I hate the Iranian government, but seriously, this man needs to keep us out of his mouth because he's not one to speak about my country, babes. Please fix your own home before you try to talk about us. Honey, this is not a good look. You're deflecting really hard and you're really going on the trope that Iran bad that America has been doing for decades. And although I don't agree with the Iranian government, I think they're terrible. I've spoken against them multiple times. I don't think he's the one that could be saying shit.
These protesters chant from the river to the sea, but many don't have a clue what river and what sea they're talking about. They call Israel a colonialist state. Don't they know that the land of Israel is where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob prayed, where Isaiah and Jeremiah preached, and where David and Solomon ruled?
Again, mixing church and state. Mixing church and state. If Democrats say so much that they don't want to mix church and state, why are they letting this buffoon continuously mix church and state? I don't get it.
It's not only the campus protesters who get it wrong. It's also the people who run those campuses. 80 years after the Holocaust, the presidents of Harvard, Penn, and I'm ashamed to say my alma mater, MIT, couldn't bring themselves to condemn the calls for the genocide of Jews. You remember what they said? It depends on the context. Well, let me give these befuddled academics a little context. Anti-Semitism is the world's oldest hatred.
I mean, honestly, he's following all of the Zionist propaganda. He deflected and blamed Iran. Now he's talking about anti-Semitism. He called people who are protesting terrorists, basically, and he said that they're getting paid by Iran. Every single propaganda point he's making. And the crazy thing is, no American actually believes anything he's fucking saying unless you're a Zionist.
The prosecutor of the International Criminal Court has shamefully accused Israel of deliberately starving the people of Gaza.
Yeah, they're just fabricating everything.
More than 40,000 aid trucks to enter Gaza. That's 500,000 tons of food.
No.
And that's more than 3,000 calories for every man, woman, and child. It's not because Israel is blocking it. It's because Hamas is stealing it.
Are you serious? Wow, that's wild.
So much for that lie. Hamas does everything in its power to put Palestinian civilians in harm's way. They fire rockets from schools, from hospitals, from mosques. They even shoot their own people when they try to leave the war zone. A senior Hamas official, Fatih Hamad, boasted that Palestinian women and children excel at being human shields. His words, excel at being human shields.
Wow. Right, there's no way he just said that. He just said Palestinian women and children excel at being human shields when he's literally murdered at least 40,000, most of which women and children. And they let him say that in Congress? That's insane.
Despite all the lies you've heard, the war in Gaza has one of the lowest ratios of combatants to non-combatants casualties in the history of urban warfare. And you want to know where it's lowest in Gaza? It's lowest in Rafah.
That's just not true. That's not true.
The Islamic Republic, Ayatollah Khomeini pledged, we will export our revolution to the entire world. Now ask yourself, which country ultimately stands in the way of Iran's maniacal plans to impose radical Islam on the world? And the answer is clear. It's America, the guardian of Western civilization and the world's greatest power. That's why Iran sees America as its greatest enemy. Last month, revealing comment, ostensibly about the war in Gaza, but about something else. It came from the foreign minister of Iran's proxy, Hezbollah, and he said this is not a war with Israel. Israel, he said, is merely a tool. The main war, the real war, is with America. Iran's regime has been fighting America from the moment it came to power. In 1979, it stormed the American embassy. It held scores of Americans hostage for 444 days. Since then, Iran's terrorist proxies have targeted America in the Middle East and beyond.
So now he's going off about how Iran is a global threat, which is exactly what they did in order to justify the Afghanistan war. So at first he framed it as in terror is going to infect the whole entire globe, right? And now he's going on this long explanation of how Iran's global terrorism is feeding the world. And listen, I don't like the Iranian government. I want to make that very clear. I don't agree with almost most of the things that they do. But when it comes to international relations, I don't think this man should be speaking about Iran. And the way he's framing this speech is the same exact framing that they did to justify the Afghanistan war. He is trying to justify a war or an attack against Iran. That's what he's doing. He's still going off about Iran. He is trying to justify a war against Iran. You want to know why? Because Iran is the only country in the Middle East that actually stands up against him and says, hey, fuck you. And the only reason why they do that is because their personal interests are in danger. If Israel, expands or whatever, Iran's GDP, which is mostly from oil and gas, is going to get lost because they're going to steal all of it if they were to invade or if they were to take the land. So he's trying to prep all of these lawmakers and saying, hey, Iran is a threat, Iran is a threat, Iran is a threat, so that he can set the narrative that, hey, you guys should attack them, but indirectly, because this is exactly what happened. This was the exact predisposition that got us into Iraq, that got us into Afghanistan, into two absolutely useless wars. We spent all that money, we wasted all that money. Taliban took over Afghanistan. So here's the thing, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's not stupid. He's trying to prep American lawmakers to be ready to go to war in Iran. That's what it is.
My dear friends, the war in Gaza could end tomorrow if Hamas surrenders, disarms, and returns all the hostages.
You literally said that you won't stop bombing until you kill everyone. You literally said you won't stop until you take over the Gaza Strip.
Fight until we destroy Hamas's military capabilities, end its rule in Gaza, and bring all our hostages home.
Do you want to know how many times Hamas has accepted a ceasefire deal that was proposed to them by Egypt or some sort of mediator country and he declined it? Again, misinformation.
Israel does not seek to resettle Gaza, but for the foreseeable future, we must retain overriding security control there to prevent the resurgence of terror, to ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel. Gaza should have a civilian administration run by Palestinians who do not seek to destroy Israel. That's not too much to ask.
Fatah is literally partially controlling the West Bank, and Fatah is very peaceful, and you still have super aggressive settlers that are Israeli that go into the West Bank. You constantly attack the West Bank. You constantly take settlements out of the West Bank. What are you talking about? out. You could have worked with Fatah, but you won't because you're bullshitting. That's just not true. Hamas is not the only governing state of Palestinians. You fucking idiot.
Working together, I'm confident that our two nations will vanquish the tyrants and terrorists who threaten us both. As Israel's Prime Minister, I promise you this: no matter how long it takes, no matter how difficult the road ahead, Israel will not relent. Israel will not bend. We will defend our land. We will defend our people. We will fight until we achieve victory.
Defend your land from what? Defend your land from people that you've stolen shit from for fucking 70 years? You've literally committed so many massacres to Palestinians, and now you want to turn October 7th into something that you didn't see coming at all.
May God bless Israel, may God bless America, and may God bless the great alliance between Israel and America forever.
Bro, all these people clapping though, can we just talk about that? All the standing ovations, like, this is wild. John Fetterman put on a suit for Netanyahu. Did y'all just see John Fetterman in a fucking suit? So the first time John Fetterman ever wears a suit is for Netanyahu. There's no fucking way. I am absolutely speechless. Like, that's his whole thing, wearing fucking busted ass sweaters every day, which for the first 2 days was funny, but then got really old and premature. Okay, Al Jazeera is live.
Outside Congress, thousands of demonstrators have gathered to protest Netanyahu's address. U.S. Capitol Police say it's now using pepper spray towards protesters. At least 2 relatives of captives were removed from the room where Netanyahu is speaking, wearing T-shirts urging for a ceasefire deal. Some Democratic members of Congress are also boycotting his speech. Shihab Rattansi is with some of those protesters in Washington, D.C. Shab, what are they telling you there?
It was quite a show of force, thousands upon thousands, from union workers to students to Jewish groups and Christian groups. And there was one flashpoint, actually, where the police, who looked very jumpy anyway, very quick early on put on their riot shields and helmets and did pepper spray a group. The Capitol Police have now reduced their presence a little bit. You've got to remember, by the way, this is the same Capitol Police who did nothing on January the 6th when it was stormed, but a few thousand Palestinian protesters, the pepper spray was out pretty sharp.
Wait, that's a good point.
Some of the protesters here, Jen and Ceresia, I believe. I'll give you some nuggets from Netanyahu's speech. First of all, he says you're all being paid by Iran. So what are you doing with all that Iranian money then? I suppose?
Well, actually, we are all here on our own dime. I'm a healthcare worker from New York City, and we are all paying to be here because that is how important it is to us. We are sick of our tax dollars going to genocide an indigenous population. Healthcare facilities are completely destroyed. Children, over 16,000 children have been massacred now with our tax dollars. We are sick of this. So no, we are not being paid by Iran or any of these groups.
Another nugget was this is a battle between barbarity and civilization. I guess he's suggesting that you're the barbarians here. What do you make of that?
I bet Netanyahu finds it hard to believe that people can care about people. I totally believe he finds it hard to believe that we don't want genocide. He finds it easy to dehumanize people. So when he sees people in the streets to protect human life, that is completely foreign to him.
It's not just him, though. Many of the members of Congress were giving him an ovation. They believe all of this stuff. These are your members of Congress.
Well, they are actually foreign agents because it's basically public knowledge at this point that so many of our representatives have been bought and paid for by Israel lobbies like AIPAC. So no, they do not have our best interests in mind, and they are actually working for the Israeli government. American representatives are not even representing America at this point. It's
bipartisan.
Yes.
It's a bipartisan issue, and I would like to remind a lot of this country that Cop City is also a bipartisan issue. The idea of militarizing the state and over-policing communities is not Republican. It's not. It's both.
Cop City is the enormous facility being built in Atlanta with taxpayer money. One last thing. Lots being made by Kamala Harris not being there. They say it was a scheduling thing, but she is meeting with Netanyahu on tomorrow. Now that Genocide Joe, the person you call Genocide Joe, isn't at the top of the ticket, does Kamala get a pass then? Is it time to vote Democrat to unite?
No, it's a bipartisan issue. It's not the person sitting in the seat. It is the institution itself.
Yeah, the system is completely corrupt, so it's not really the person who's at the top of it. It's the whole system is corrupt. So just changing the puppet at the head of it all is not going to make us forget that our government is carrying out a genocide.
Jen and Cerizia, thank you very much. And actually, just a programming note, actually, I guess you could say. We're being told that there are major protests being planned for that White House meeting as well, and we hope to be there too.
All right, Shab, thanks very much from at least one of the protests.
All right, let's go through some of the other information that we got. I do apologize for being so heated when he first started. I feel like my commentary was not being cohesive, but I'm really fucking angry. I feel like up until this point in time, there haven't been Middle Eastern commentators that can actually give their unfiltered opinion with people listening. I think social media has given us that power, and I think that now that we're entering this news cycle of bombing this shit out of the Middle East, because in 2001 it was Afghanistan and Iraq, now we're entering this news cycle of not only Gaza getting bombed, but Syria, Lebanon, Iraq also simultaneously getting bombed, which this will eventually escalate to Lebanon. If it keeps on going like this, it will eventually escalate into Syria and Iraq and eventually into Iran. And what I personally believe is Netanyahu is, I have a lot of thoughts from that speech, but one of the main things that I took away from his speech is that he framed Iran a lot in his conversation, and he framed it in a way where it's like Iran's terrorism is going to spread across the whole entire globe if we don't stop them. And that was the same exact war on terror rhetoric that we used when we justified the invasion of Afghanistan and Iraq. Now, do I think America and or Israel is going to attack Iran soon? I don't think that. But I do think that he is planting the seed and starting that conversation of, hey, we need to attack Iran. When it's going to happen or if it's going to happen, I don't know. But this speech really told me that, okay, he's planting that seed. That is his future goal. So that's number one. Number two, I think that this is very worrisome in general because the demonization of the Middle East has been a common thing in America since 2001, and that was because of the war on terror propaganda that the Pentagon peddled. And we can get into that later. But he is justifying all of the atrocities that he is putting on the people in Gaza and the way he speaks about Iran by saying, hey, well, I'm America's ally and I'm getting attacked by the Muslim terrorists, right? And he kept saying the Islamic Republic of Iran because he was tying Iran to the same terrorism that he was talking about in Gaza. So this was incredibly worrisome because I think it shows that he has, first of all, he does not plan on ending what's going on in Gaza. That is not his plan whatsoever. Number two, it also shows me that he is planning on escalating this in a way in which it could end up in World War III. Now, I don't know if you guys know, but yesterday, at the time that we're recording this, Fatah, which is the partial group that is overlooking the West Bank, as well as Hamas, as well as 12 other faction groups, Palestinian faction groups, were in China, and they signed a peace deal between one another because Fatah believes in negotiations and talking, Hamas believes in armed resistance. They never got along. They've been fighting since 2006 when Hamas got elected to govern the Gaza Strip. So when I heard about this news, China is facilitating this conversation and has been able to get a peace deal between all of these faction groups, which is something that, number one, they've tried to do multiple times, has not happened because each Palestinian faction group was working on their own. But number two, China is the one that facilitated this. So I think we need to look at, here's the way I'm looking at it. I'm not a China fan. I think that China does a lot of egregious shit. But I think the way we need to look at this is China is playing chess, America is playing checkers. In the way in which America is hyper-focused on one country, which is Israel, China is building long-lasting relationships with different countries so that in the case that this does escalate, they have a lot of allies in their back pockets. So that's another thing we need to continue to look at, because as the American economy starts to crumble and China starts to take over, become the global superpower, because I do believe that that's going to happen in the next 10 to 20 years if we continue this path that we're going on, they're gonna have an upper hand. They are gonna have an upper hand because they have been investing money. China has invested money into India. China has invested money into Africa. China has invested money into Iran, if I'm not mistaken. China is investing millions and billions of dollars in these countries that desperately need the money. So when we're looking at 10 to 20 years, when China becomes a global superpower, hypothetically, right, they're going to have all these friends on their back corner, when America, on the other hand, has just been funding terror for the past 60 years. So, as well as South America, yes, you're right. I think that's another thing we need to absolutely immediately look at too, like, this is very worrisome. You know what I mean? Because if America wants to continue being the superpower, they need to stop playing checkers and they need to start playing chess. And I'm sorry, threatening China with war every 2 seconds is not going to stop them. We economically depend on China. We cannot survive without China. Literally everything in America that is manufactured, everything in America is not manufactured in America, it's manufactured in China. We purposely sent all of our labor to China because the capitalists wanted to save more money. So when you're talking about we're gonna invade China, you look stupid, you look dumb, because who depends on who more, us or China? All right, let's get into it. So the fact that more than 50 congressional, oh, sorry, I'm so sorry, I haven't been showing this. I'm literally just talking to you guys without the article showing, sorry. So the fact that more than 50 congressional Democrats were noticeably absent is huge. And I want to tell you guys why. Although this sounds like not that much, it's still a big deal because up until this point, we have never seen such a public protest against the state of Israel. Everyone was scared, no one would really say anything about Israel, but the fact that 50 Democrat lawmakers were not even there, that's huge. And we're seeing this political shift amongst Israel where we went from complete unwavering support towards Israel to now federal lawmakers protesting against Israel. And that's really significant. And I know it might not sound that significant, but it is. Like the small wins are still small wins. And even though, yes, they're a part of a system that doesn't work, they're a part of a system that oppresses us, like I totally agree with all of that. But I think it's very important to also recognize that this has never happened. This is historic. And I think we need to give it the credit that it deserves. It means a lot. Okay. Oh, damn. Look at Rashida. Period. Our Palestinian queen. We love her. What the fuck would we do without her? That's the real question. That is the real question. Just so we're clear, Netanyahu has lost so many people that he is addressing just a fraction of Congress. When this happens, they fill the seats with non-members, like what they do at award ceremonies, in order to project the appearance of a full attendance and support. By my count, roughly 100 of the 212 House Democrats and 27 of the 51 Senate Democrats and Dem caucusing independents are in the chamber for Netanyahu's speech. That is around half of each caucus absent. That's a really big deal. So half of each caucus was absent. That's fucking insane. So most of what we just watched was staff members. They were staffers. House Democrats currently in the chamber for Netanyahu's speech. Okay, we're gonna like that. We need to keep them in check. You know what I mean? Wow, good to know. This is the real tea. This is the real tea. John Fetterman is wearing a suit during Netanyahu's speech today. See, this has to be the gag of the fucking century. This fucking moron has never worn a suit in his goddamn life. Continues to wear the crusty ass sweaters that he continues to wear. For a war criminal, he suits up. I honestly hope the worst for this man. I'm not even joking. Usually I don't wish bad things on people, but this man deserves it. Breaking police arrest 3 members of the families of Israeli protesters for wearing shirts that read "Deal Now." Interesting, while many Democrats refuse to applaud for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, possible VP contender Senator Mark Kelly is quietly applauded with his hands lowered. Tea! Wait, this is tea! Stop! While many Democrats have refused to apply for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, possible VP contender Senator Mark Kelly is quietly applauding with his hand. I need to see this video. Bro, look at how many people. Look at how many fucking people showed out. This is an insane number of people that have showed out. That's crazy. See, this is giving me body chills. This is the shit that gives me hope. What happens? I will not be attending Netanyahu's speech in Congress. I only regret that an arrest for his war crimes has not been issued by the ICC. Damn. All these people are coming out of the woodworks. Unfortunately, Netanyahu doesn't sound for peace in the Middle East. For nearly 10 months, Netanyahu has waged a deadly war and widely inappropriate. Guys, I think this might be a turning point. Well, okay guys, thank you so much for watching my YouTube channel. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and comment for more videos like this, and I'll see you next time.